Bueno, bienvenidos todos a nuestra clase de Habla Más Español. Keep speaking more Spanish. Probably some people trickling in, pero vamos a comenzar. Creo que arreglé los problemas técnicas. So, I fixed the technical problems, así que vamos a intentar Bluey. A ver si Bluey funciona para comenzar. Cambié el cable de HDMI. I changed the HDMI cable.
Oh.
It's harder to say in Spanish. HDMI.
Should they call it anything different? Or?
I don't think so. No, I think it's cable de HDMI. It gets better the more you say it. HDMI. There we go. Okay. Entonces, oh, this is the alphabet. We're going to do that later. Pero vamos a ver si funciona Bluey. Así que vamos a verlo en inglés primero y luego vamos a verlo en español. Okay. Now vamos a verlo en español. Pero vamos a dejar los subtítulos en inglés. With the English subtitles. Okay. Okay. Entonces, ¿dónde pudieron hablar español esta semana pasada? Where did you get a chance to speak Spanish this past week? Let's hear what you got to use. All right, question. What was one of our assignments with the Cuenta Regresiva book? Anybody read it to anybody? So how many of you got a chance to read it to somebody? Oh, good. Excellent. So how'd that go? How'd you feel about your pronunciation since we've been over it a few times in class? I see some rolled eyes.
Yeah.
What's that?
70% confident.
Okay, we'll take 70%. Just keep bumping it up.
I was corrected by a 4-year-old.
Hey, that's excellent. 4-year-olds are great because they will correct you without thinking twice about it.
She did not.
Okay.
And they kept the book.
And they kept the book, yeah. So I gave her another one. She got the class to replace it. All right. So who did you read it to? Who else did I see with their hand up?
My son, how do you say son?
Hijo. Mijo.
Hijo.
Mhm. All right. So how old is your son?
19.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Does he know any Spanish?
Not really.
Okay. So good experience for him.
Mhm.
All right. So who else got to read it? Yes.
I read it to my dogs, so
Good.
they didn't have much feedback. But what helped me, I had Google Translate out. I wrote out the English version and just kind of went through to make sure I had the pronunciation right, which is still in progress.
Good. That's why we do it. Practice, practice. So who else read it? Yes, Tracy.
Mi esposo,
A tu esposo.
sí.
¿Y le gustó? Did he like it?
Sí.
Okay.
Was he supportive?
Yes. Now, has he learned any Spanish at all?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. That video on was learning some. All right, good. So, where else did you speak Spanish this week? ¿Alguien? ¿Dónde? ¿Dónde hablaron español? Sí, Matt.
Hablé español el domingo en el bar.
Okay.
Yo veo partidos de fútbol
Okay.
en el bar y mi amigo Eric es de Uruguay y mi
qué
nuevo amigo Carlos es de México.
Wow, okay.
Hablan español
¿Y tú estás en el medio?
yo entiendo.
Okay. Bien. Pero, ¿intentaste hablar algo también? did you like try to speak something besides just listening?
Yeah, no, I was trying to, I was trying to practice with that.
Good.
They were going back and forth at this speed, but I can't keep.
That's a Yep. But what you'll find out is, as people stay at that speed, you'll like start getting like more and more,
Yeah.
and that's kind of so having a consistent group or consistent place to like be exposed to Spanish is really good for benchmarks. Because if you've got the same people, because I know Rebecca has some friends, what you start finding is, 2 weeks ago I was getting like maybe 5%, I think I just got 10%, which that's a significant improvement, 5% to 10%. So if you have those consistent places to do it, that's a good thing to do. All right, anybody else? Where'd you get a chance to speak Spanish?
The bar.
They say a little wine really helps with like
Oh,
pronunciation and comprehension.
Way more
so,
confidence, not
Yes.
sober.
so, anybody else?
I can
Yeah,
sure,
Sheila.
But oh my god, it's like my mind goes blank as soon as I'm supposed to try to speak in Spanish. Yo practicar con mi amigo trabajo.
Sí, amiga de trabajo.
Amiga trabajo. And then I learned something fun that I wanted to share with
Okay.
everyone. So to talk about like if you have like a mixed breed, like a foster, like a rescue dog or something, and typically like we would say a mutt.
Yeah.
They say mestizo.
Mestizo?
Mestizo, which I
okay.
just thought was really fun and just sounds a little more like cool than a mutt.
Mi perro es mestizo. Yeah, it
so
sounds
I
a lot
think it's,
classier,
like,
right?
Mixed or something, but she's like,
Yes.
yeah, we just say that for any sort of like
Mixed
mutt.
breed?
Yeah,
Okay.
mixed breed.
Yep.
So.
Well,
yeah,
because
mixed breed.
mestizo was originally someone who is like mixed Spain Indian.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of races together. So mestizo. Good. I did not know they used that with dog breeds, so I learned
Yeah.
something new. Thank you. All right. Good. Well, como estamos hablando de pronunciación y hablar español, vamos a repasar nuestros vocales. I'm losing real estate on this board. It's like, first the caterpillar, and I've got all the butterflies and the flowers, so we'll see what's here next week if there's any room to work. So, all right, so this is A, this is E, this is I, this is O, this is U. Good, all right, so a little faster. A, E, I, O, U. So, this is what? Repaso. Repaso. Which means review. Repaso, review. All right? And since last week I was supposed to do an alphabet song that didn't work, I have it queued up for this week too. So.
Hey Cosmo, ¿cómo estás? ¿Quieres aprender el alfabeto con nosotros? Órale, será fácil. Solo canta con nosotros. ¿Listo?
Here we go.
1, 2, 3.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V,
W, X, Y,
Z, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z.
Muy bien, Cosmo. Ahora vamos a aprender las vocales. ¿Es
There's
algo
more vowel
diferente? ¿Estás
practice.
listo?
A, E, I, O, U.
Con M es
Ma, me, mi, mo, mu.
con P es
Pa, pe, pi, quick run through exercise 1-3, where you had to translate the nouns into English. And if you didn't do it, you can do your best guess. So what we're gonna do is we'll start over here with Ignacio and Aaron, Laura, and then we'll go over to Kevin and Ginny, and circle around and end here with Monique. So here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna read the word in Spanish and then say what it means in English. Okay? Okay. And so that way, if those of you who didn't have it, you can like fill in your book. And so, okay, you can start, Ignacio.
El libro, the book.
Good.
La página,
Good. Yes.
the page,
Yes.
la casa,
Mm-hmm.
the house.
Good. Kevin.
Las Flores,
Yes.
the flowers.
Yes. Look at these good guesses. Say it with confidence. They wouldn't even know you're guessing.
El baño, the bathroom.
Yes. Now it can also be el baño. Can also be the bath, as in, can you give the kids a bath? Vas a dar los niños un baño. So.
Does Spanish use the restroom then, or the toilet?
No, French is el toilet, but
Yeah, I didn't know, yeah.
Spanish is,
It's
no,
still
el baño, sometimes el servicio, like the service. I've heard some countries use that for bathroom. Trying to think, anybody else traveled and run across anything different? But baño is by far the most common.
Okay, I just remember like, yeah.
And especially if restaurants, if they've got like a sign indicating bathrooms, it's like los baños.
So you wouldn't say the restroom if you're, we don't have the restroom.
No, they don't really use like restroom. No.
Have I heard like a sanitario or
El
something?
sanitario, yep, that's the other one. I knew there was another one that gets used. So el sanitario, so the sanitary,
I've heard that before.
yeah, that gets used. Okay, so let's see where we did. Who did el baño? Ginny. Okay, so Matt,
El vino, the wine.
good.
El muchacho,
Yep.
the man.
El muchacho, well, that's usually boy, so it
Oh,
could be,
that's
yeah.
what I had, and then I crossed it out, cause like muchacho just sounded like.
Yeah,
male.
hombre,
Oh,
hombre is man, but yeah,
I was thinking
muchacho,
yeah, I was thinking it was a different word.
muchacho is boy, yeah.
Oh.
Boy, young man. So okay, so here's kind of the breakdown when you're talking about kids or ages. So you have bebé, which is baby. So that's like 0 to 15, 16 months. So like we will often say, oh, she's my baby when she's 19. That happens too. But bebé, accept. And then you have niño or niña, for like young child. And so this is probably like 0 to 2-ish, but usually once they get to 2, they're talking about niña, so we're gonna say, so like 2 to 5 works for niño. Once they get above 5, then it usually goes to either chico, chica, or muchacho, muchacha. And so that's probably 5 to, well, and that can be up, you can say chico to people who's like 17, 18, you can use chico with adults. So that's kind of almost like guy in English, where guy can apply beyond age ranges, but still, 2 to 5-year-old, you're not gonna hear people refer to them as a chico that much. Unless somebody's saying, they're talking about other kids and they've got like 5 kids ages 2 to 10 or 2 to 12 or whatever, then it's like mis chicos or mis niños. Muchacha, muchacha. So 5 till, I don't know, like 11. Once you get past 11, 12, then it's joven. So joven means like a young person. So joven, and it's either el joven or la joven. There's no like jovena. It's for both, el la joven. And so this is probably, you definitely don't get referred to it as a joven until you're probably at least 12. So like starting junior high-ish. And so 12 to 18.
So
So
is it basically teenager?
it's kind of like teenager, it's like young person, teenager, huh?
Juvenile.
Yeah, juvenile is where it comes from, though they have juvenil for juvenile, is a word. So, like for example, my parents are missionaries, so we had church services, and so we had youth group. And so youth group was jóvenes. And the big joke was if you were still single, you could still be a joven like almost until you were 30. If you're like, so, but normally jóvenes was like 12 to 18, 19 years old, like pre-university. And then hombre, mujer, like say chico, chico, chico. So that's kind of the breakdown as we're talking about people. So yeah, so this muchacho and muchacha means young boy, young girl, but the understanding is they're probably at least 5 or older. So.
I'm glad that I got it wrong, because this is really helpful.
Oh, yeah. No extra charge for the little mini breakdown lesson. Okay, so you did El Muchacho, so we're up to Mara, into number 8.
Yes, it is El Hermano, the brother.
Yep, El Hermano, brother. So what would sister be?
La Hermana.
Hermana, good, okay. All right. Go ahead and go to Carmen, and then Edward.
La biblioteca,
Good?
the library.
Yes.
El Cafe, the coffee
The coffee, or also the coffee shop.
shop.
Yep, or the cafe. All right, Jake?
El tren, the train.
Yep. Mark?
El planeta,
Mm-hmm.
planet.
Yep.
What do you say?
El planeta, the planet.
Just like I said it.
Yeah.
Is your male dentist.
What's that? El dentista, male dentist, yes. So what if it's a female dentist?
La dentista.
La dentista, yeah, so dentist is always dentista, there's no dentisto. So it's a dentista if it's male or female. Okay, so, Lynn,
El jardín, the garden.
yep, only it's el jardín, yes. So J makes your H sound. Okay, Rebecca,
La flor, the flower.
good. So let's go over to Angela.
La cerveza, the beer.
Yes. Kim?
La planta, the plant.
Yes. And la planta is the plant, but just like we also have plants that are like factories,
Oh.
the same thing applies in Spanish. La planta can also be la planta donde la gente trabaja, or la fábrica, or the maquila. Those are all words, but plant, planta gets used different ways in Spanish too. So, okay, 18, Monique.
La amistad,
Yep, la amistad.
la amistad, the friendship.
Yes, good. Okay, so back to Ignacio.
La verdad,
Yep, la verdad.
is that the garden?
No, la verdad. Jardín is garden. We're coming. So, and there's no connection here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the truth.
The truth,
Right,
yeah,
right,
okay.
right, right.
Yeah, there's no like English-Spanish cross connection for the words. Like, well, unless you think of like veritas in Latin. Veritas means truth. So verdad. So you can usually make a connection somewhere if you go like to Latin. Okay, so next one, Aaron.
La suerte,
Good.
I don't know, the heat maybe?
Nope. Have you ever heard buena suerte?
La suerte.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah. So la suerte is luck. All right, Laura.
Okay, La gerente?
Good guess, but G's before an E or an I get an H sound.
Gerente?
Yes,
La gerente.
la gerente, which means
I have no, I'm sorry.
it means the female manager.
Oh, okay.
So what if it's a male manager?
El gerente?
Yes, el gerente. So it's one of those words that there isn't any change. So it's la gerente or el gerente. So yeah, manager. All right, back to Kevin.
La tienda, the store.
Yep, la tienda.
Tanda.
Yep, good.
La ventana,
Mm-hmm.
the window.
Very good. Matt.
Un museo, museum.
Good. They even changed your pronouns there, so it's like a instead of the, good.
Un espejo. Or wait, un espejo.
Yep, un espejo.
Un espejo. What? Un espejo.
Espejo. There you go, good.
A mirror.
Yep, that's a mirror. All right, over to Mara.
Una libreria, a bookstore?
Yep, a libreria.
Libreria.
Yep, so biblioteca is a library. A libreria, which seems like it should be library, is a bookstore. That's why they did it. Seems like it should be backward, but that's just how it is. So, okay, good. Libreria. All right, so, yeah, Carmen.
Una pluma?
Yep, una pluma, which is?
I don't know, I'm sorry.
All right. This actually could be several things. So it could be a pen, like what you write with, or a feather. So a pluma on a bird is a feather. So from quills. What are other words for like pen that you write with? Because there's like several of them. Bolígrafo. Good. Yeah. So pluma, bolígrafo. There's another one that's pretty common.
Pencil, right?
Lapis.
Pencil is lapis, and a pen is lapicero. So you have, for writing utensils, you have pluma, you have bolígrafo. So where do you think that comes from? Bol, and then grafo.
Oh, that's a ballpoint pen.
Yeah, it's like a ballpoint pen. So ball, and then grafo to write. So a writing ball, but it's just pen. Bolígrafo, okay. Pluma, bolígrafo, and then lapicero, which is also pen, and then pencil. There's really only word for pencil, and that's lapis. And it gets an accent because it's lapis, it's not lapis. All right, so there's your writing utensils. Okay, so we read una pluma. Who did una pluma? Carmen? Okay, so Edward.
Lección. Una lección or
Yeah, una lección.
lección.
Yeah, when we got two C's together, the first C gets hard, the second C gets soft. So una lección.
The lesson.
Yes, the lesson. All right, Jake.
Una idea,
Good.
an idea.
Yeah, pretty transparent that one. Mark.
Una maleta.
Yeah, una maleta.
Suitcase.
Yes, suitcase.
I cheated.
Oh, no, that's what you're supposed to do. You're always supposed to check in the back of the book if you don't know, write it in. So, Tracy.
El sillón,
El sillón.
this chair?
Yeah, but it's sillón is like either a larger chair, and sillón is sometimes for saddle. What the book have? I hadn't checked the back of the book.
Armchair.
Armchair. So yeah. So sillón. So a silla is like what you're sitting in. Un sillón is what you sit in and you put your feet up, or you get cozy in. So yeah.
So double L is more like the J sound than the Y sound?
Silla depends on the word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is it?
Silla. Silla. So it's almost like see ya, like see you
Okay,
later.
that has an N on it, did you take it?
There's no. Oh well, sillón. She was saying, asking about silla for chair. Sillón, yes, as an N. So it's sillón. And again, it's where you come from. So you may have people who say sillón with no ja, but in Venezuela, where I learned Spanish, don't know if it's Argentinian influence, the Castilian. There's a fair amount of Castilian influence in Venezuela. In fact, they referred to Spanish in Venezuela. We didn't speak Español, we spoke Castellano, which means like Castilian. Now, we really didn't speak Castilian Spain Spanish, but that's what they called it.
So they'll ask you if you speak Castellano?
Yeah, there are some places where they say hablas Castellano.
So in Castile, it would be El Sillón? Or, so,
El sillón, yeah. So in Castilian, there's more ja in the pronunciation, and Venezuela is very influenced by that. So Venezuela, Argentina, the double L's tend to have more ja to them, more vocalization than just the like the Y sound.
Okay.
But there are places where you're just going to hear la silla or el sillón. It's hard for me to do it because you pick up accent. It's just how you learn it. So, but both are totally correct. It's just regional preferential thing how you learn it.
And it's not really the J sound, like ja. It's more like a Z,
Ja.
like a.
Yeah, it's more like a
Z,
ja.
Like a soft J, like.
Yeah,
not
like a
ja.
soft J. No, it's not ja, but it's, yeah, ja, si, ja, si, jaune. Yeah, I'm not sure how you would like, what kind of letters you would put together to get that. Try to think if we had, okay, so it's like the S in pleasure. It's not pleasure, it's pleasure. So it's that sound, pleasure, si, jaune. So, okay.
Los amigos, the
Los,
friends.
yep, los amigos. Okay, so they gave you some singular form of adjectives and with colors. So let's just read through those. Don't have to worry about doing the English because the English is there. So Rebecca, you can start with the adjectives. So we're combining.
So el libro blanco.
Yep, and you're going to notice in Spanish when you do adjectives, the adjective follows the noun. So it's el libro blanco. It's the white book. In English we say white book. In Spanish we say it's the book white. So your noun comes first and then your modifiers after. Okay, so let's keep going with Angela.
El gato negro.
Bien. Kim?
El, Sierra Rojo.
Yep, carro. Carro,
Did you
yeah.
spell that casa? Okay.
Yeah, so a C that comes before an A or an O is hard. So the carro, cosa,
So
costo. So
Carro Rojo.
el carro, rojo.
Rojo.
Yep, J's are just your H sound.
Okay.
All right, Monique.
El muchacho simpático.
Bien, yep, el muchacho simpático. All right, over to Ignacio.
El hombre formoso.
Very good, except what do we do with our H's? We eliminate them. We axe our H's. So it's going to be
El hombre hermoso.
bien, perfecto. There you go. Okay, Aaron.
La Casa Blanca.
Good.
Okay. La chiquita negra,
Yep. Only with a UE, it's chaqueta.
la chiquita negra.
Yep. So you get the chaqueta. If it's UE, it's chaqueta. It's almost like the U doesn't exist. If it has the umlaut, then it becomes que. They have umlauts in Spanish, yes. So for example, the word vergüenza, verguenza, means shame. Vergüenza has the umlaut, so it's not vergüenza, it's vergüenza. So that's the rule for those. And there's a joke you should be aware of because as you get around friends, they may say it. So if you take, and I'll just try to expose you to stuff that like people would like give me a hard time with, and I didn't understand it, so it made it all the funnier to them. But let's get us some of our limited real estate here. So the phrase come sin vergüenza. Does anybody know what that means? Come, from what verb do you think?
To eat.
To eat, so comer, so come. So it's the what form? So it's yo como, tú comes, él or usted come. So it's either second person formal, singular, or third person. In this case, it's used for second person. So it's come, sin, without vergüenza, shame. So eat without shame. So for example, someone can say to you, come sin vergüenza. So, you know, the last piece is on the table. You know, it's the last two chips in the bottom of the bowl, or it's the last tortilla. And, you know, you have people looking at it, and the host just goes, no, come sin vergüenza. So go ahead, eat the last one without shame. However, if all you do is add a comma here, and they say, anda, come sinvergüenza. Sinvergüenza means shameless one. So it's like, go ahead, eat, shameless one. So it's either come sinvergüenza, go ahead, eat without shame, or go ahead and eat, shameful one, you glutton. But most of the time when they're doing that, so you may hear someone say, come sinvergüenza. And you're like, that almost, so what they're saying is go ahead, eat, shameless one. But very often it's just like as a joke, because they understand that the two things are so close. So. Anyway, because I had heard people being called a sinvergüenza. So a sinvergüenza is a person with no shame. Oye, tú si eres sinvergüenza, you're like shameless. And so the first time somebody like said, go ahead and eat, like that way, I was like, wait, I know what that means. Why are you? And then they explained the joke. It's like, well, actually, it's like eat without shame. So anyway, how much of that you'll ever remember, I don't know, but if it comes up, you can thank me later. All right, so we were at La Chaqueta Negra. Who did that? Okay, so then Kevin, continue.
La Lampara Roja.
Yep, where's our accent?
Oh, La Lampara Roja, right?
Keep looking at the accent.
Oh, La. La. I don't know.
La Lámpara Roja.
Oh, La Lampara Roja.
Yeah, there we go, Lámpara. Yep, they give you the accent. It's hard because your head just wants to go to the lampara because that's the natural A sounding ending. But yeah, if there's an accent, then you gotta, okay, no, it's la lámpara. So la lámpara roja.
How do people deal with mutterers then in Spanish?
It can get really hard. Whenever I go to, and Cubans are notorious, are there any Cubans in the room? No? Okay. So Cubans are notorious for having very muddled Spanish. I'm totally fluent, but I would go to Cuba and it would take me like a couple of days to get my brain back in sync to understand people. It's like, this is like so muddled and like almost muttered and mixed in together. And I thought at first I just thought it was just me, but then I had a really close friend who's one of my students who came like a son to me because I was in and out of Cuba for like 10 years at one point, like once or twice a year, so I was there all the time. And I was asking him about using a particular word because I was going to be teaching on something, and I had this word, I wasn't sure how familiar it was, but it was the best technical word. And I said, so if I use this word, will people understand? Because I'm teaching pastors, some of them are very rural, some have barely had a high school education. I'm like, is this going to be understood here? He's like, oh yeah, we'll understand that. He said, we'd probably never use it. It's like, why not? He said, oh, it's a little too, I don't know, sophisticated, academic. We don't speak Spanish that way. I'm like, why not? He said, well, because in our culture, if anybody uses like super proper Spanish, super educated Spanish, unless they're a professor or something, then what everybody thinks is, who are you putting on airs? Trying to be some kind of an aristocrat? It's like, you know, it's almost like a betrayal of the ideas of La Revolución, which was, you know, bringing everybody to the lowest common denominator. So because of that, and he said, that's why we mess up our Spanish intentionally. Nobody wants to sound like they speak really good Spanish because you're either thought of putting on airs or who you're trying to be or who you're trying to impress. So even because he was super educated. So was his father, but I'd get along, and they'd be using this slang mixed Spanish, and it's just because that's what they did culturally. And so, anyway, it helped me understand, but so that there's a reason behind why often Cuban Spanish is so muddled. So if you have a hard time understanding a Cuban person, it's probably not your fault. Because it is a difficult Spanish to understand. And not everybody super muddles it, but depending on the context and where people are, and especially amongst friends, casual, then it's like, I had to be there 4 days before I could like be part of those conversations because it was like so much slang and so mixed up. But you get it. So anyway, what triggered that? La lámpara. Okay.
The lamp did.
Yes. Anyway, so, alright, so we are to Ginny.
La muchacha simpática.
Muy bien.
La mujer hermosa.
Bien.
El libro excelente.
Good.
Do you want me to go down or the feminine of that?
Oh, just go ahead and go down.
Okay.
Yeah.
El perro horrible.
Yep. El perro horrible. Oh, I see they've got the feminine versions of it there beside it. Oh, but some of those are different.
Yeah, it's like, there's a.
All right, so let's go down through the masculine, then we'll do the feminines, so we don't skip them all. So yes, el perro horrible. Good.
El poema difícil.
Good.
El barco azul.
Yep. El barco azul. Yeah. Back to you, Jake.
Campana verde.
Bien.
El tren gris.
Sí. Bien.
El tema interesante.
Sí.
El hombre fuerte.
Bien.
Am I going back up?
Yeah, go back up to
La comida excelente.
bien. All right, Angela.
La cucaracha horrible.
Sí, la cucaracha horrible. They are too. If you step on them in the middle of the night in your bare feet, they pop. It's horrible. Okay, we're moving on. Kim.
Yeah.
I don't know where we're at, La, I think that's right.
Yep.
Relacion,
Yep. What happens if we have two C's?
oh, you told me already.
Hard C, soft C.
Yep. Hard C, soft C. So the first one's hard. So la,
Relacion,
lección.
Lexion, difficile.
Yep. Difícil. Good. Monique.
La pluma azul.
Yep. La pluma azul. Good. Okay, over to Ignacio.
La cama verde.
Bien.
La mesa gris.
Bien. Laura? Remember, sound out your vowels for this one because this is one that's really hard to get right the first time. So just ignore the English word that you know it is and sound out your Spanish vowels.
La idea.
Yeah, close. Keep going. Finish it.
La idea interesante.
Yep. Only it's la idea
Idea.
because each vowel constitutes a consonant. So idea, the second, the next to the last E is almost like its own consonant. Idea, so that's where the stress goes. La idea. Yep. Interesante.
Interesante. ¿Qué
Good.
es interesante?
What does it look like?
Interstate.
Almost. What else does it look like? Interesting. Yeah. Interesante. Interesting. So, the interesting idea. All right, Kevin.
La mujer fuerte.
Sí, la mujer fuerte. ¿Cómo se llama la mujer fuerte? ¿Cómo se llama la mujer fuerte en la película Encanto? Nobody knows. Who's the strong woman in
I remember
Encanto?
her, but I remember her name.
The strong woman? No.
Oh,
The sister that was.
Luisa.
Luisa.
they're all strong, independent women. That was not a good enough gift.
Sorry, that's okay. That movie's been on repeat in my
I
house
know,
for like the last 2 weeks, so it's like I have almost the whole movie into it. So,
Fuerte
So-
is strong,
what's that?
Fuerte,
Fuerte is strong.
fuerte.
Yeah. So fuerte is strong, strength-wise, but also fuerte. So if it's el olor fuerte, it's the strong odor. So it's strong both in sense of like smelling or something smelling bad, or smelling strong, because it can be smell strong and not necessarily smell bad. It's like a strong smell of cinnamon. Un olor fuerte a canela, strong smell of cinnamon. Or it can be la mujer fuerte, el hombre fuerte. So, okay. Good. All right, so everybody close your books. And let's do color quiz, random color quiz. So I'm gonna look at a color, look at a person, and Edward, what is rojo?
Red.
Good. Carmen, what is morado? Morado.
Purple.
Good. And so, yeah, repeat the word and then tell me what the color is. Let's go to Ginny. Anaranjado.
Say that again.
Anaranjado.
Anaranjado.
Mm-hmm. Think naranja.
Orange.
Yes, good guess. Okay. So anaranjado is the color. Naranja is the fruit.
Okay.
Orange. Okay. Rebecca, azul. Good. Mark, verde.
Black.
Close. Way to be complicated. Green.
Or that.
Okay.
I like that, or that
All right.
That'll do.
Tracy, what's black?
Nickel.
Good. Okay. Jake, what's white?
Blanco.
Good. Let's see. Kim, rosado. 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 Yes. Okay. There you go. Angela, what's green?
Verde.
Good. Do we have anything that's not on the list? Well, that wouldn't be. Oh, Kevin, marrón.
Marron.
Marrón. ¿Qué es en inglés?
Maroon.
That's a good guess. Maroon is actually more violeta, but marrón. Has anybody ever ordered a marrón coffee? It's like a really dark brown, so it's like a little bit of milk in it. So marrón is brown. Marrón is brown, unless you're talking about skin color. Brown in skin color is either trigueño.
Oh, it's all making sense now.
Is it? Okay, trigueño. So, yeah. So marrón is like the color of objects. So una camisa marrón, medias marrones, so brown socks. Zapatos would be marrón. However, if you're talking about somebody's brown skin color, it's trigueño, which would be brown. If you're talking about somebody's eye color, it's color café for brown eyes.
It's all working, it's all making sense, Mexico's all making sense now.
Okay,
It's all
good.
making sense.
And then, trying to think what else brown uses.
I thought Moreno was.
Moreno is also, brown skin, yep. So trigueño or moreno for brown skin people. But you would never refer to like a pair of socks as moreno. That would be marrón. Oh, pardo, they have pardo. Pardo gets used to, but pardo is a lot less common, at least where I grew up. So, anyway, so there's, yeah, browns. Every once in a while it gets complicated. All right, so what haven't we done? Okay, so who do we call them? Monique, what's purple? Yeah, it's very close. So, morado. Yes, good. All right. Okay, you can open your books back up. Oh, I didn't do. Okay, Sheila, amarillo.
Yellow.
Good. Okay. Oh, I didn't do. No, I didn't do
Gold,
gris.
silver.
So Mara, what's gris?
Great.
Okay. So it's left. All right. I think we got them all now. All right. So we're going to jump over to, because I wanted today to get into estar en ser. So the plural, you've got lots of vocabulary, and the vocabulary, just review it, because they the way the book is structured, the more common the vocabulary, closer to the front it is. So what you're getting in terms of vocab is the most basic here in these beginning chapters. So getting these down is going to be really important. It's going to be stuff you're hearing. And I would encourage you to do like exercise 1-4 for getting just the idea of the order, because that's not it. The noun adjective order is counterintuitive. It's exactly the opposite. So just get used to, like exercise 4 running through, el hombre, old would be el hombre viejo. Number 2, well, let's run these. How many of these you can get? So let's start the back of the room with Mara for these. And so you can do number 1. We'll do Mara, Edward, Carmen, then jump over to Sheila. Matt will kind of work it in reverse. So go ahead and do number 1. See if you can solve it.
El hombre viejo.
Good. So Eduardo. Remember, do every vowel. So
Situation.
yep, situación. Situación.
Situation.
Difficult is. I'm trying to find another word. Sorry, I'm having. It's bottom of page 10. Most of the adjectives are bottom of page 10 and top page 11. So yeah, you can look for it.
Difícil.
Yeah, where's the accent though?
Difícil.
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 So yeah, so let's say it together. La situación difícil. La situación difícil. So remember, our T's are nice and clipped, so there's no situación, it's situación. So la situación difícil. Difícil. So let's say it together. Ready? La situación difícil. Good. That's it.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so yes, go ahead and keep going, Carmen.
El idioma maravilloso.
Yeah, maravilloso.
Maravilloso.
All right, and then over to Sheila.
Sorry, I was trying to fill some in if I were going another way. Which one are we on?
Number 4.
Okay. La persona simpática.
Bien,
La flor amarilla.
bien.
El jardín.
Now remember, our J's are they're just all H. That's where you get your
El
H sound.
jardín.
Yep, and where's the accent?
El jardín.
Good. There's several words for beautiful, so take your pick.
Guapo. Hermoso.
Hermoso's better, yeah, for Jardín. Hermoso or bello. Guapo's more like a physical appearance of a person, so.
Okay.
La muchacha delgada.
Yeah, la muchacha delgada. So remember to make the thing agree.
Yep.
Good. All right, so over to Laura.
El vino blanca,
Except it's el vino, so it'll be el vino
blanco,
blanco. Good.
el vino blanco.
Okay, so 9, Aaron.
Okay, apartamento caro.
Muy bien. Yes, way to sound out apartamento, everyone. All right, Ignacio.
El carro.
Sorry.
Third word down, page 10. Huh?
El carro.
That's expensive. We were looking for
Oh,
inexpensive.
Barato.
Yeah, barato.
Barato.
El carro barato. All right, I want to do an aside here because of, which one? Oh, la muchacha delgada. So when you're describing people, just like we have a distinction between like thin and skinny, you have the same thing in Spanish. And just like the difference between referring to somebody as thin and referring to somebody as skinny, skinny is usually the less preferred adjective if you're talking about somebody's like body size or shape. So thin, good. Skinny has a little bit of a pejorative ring to it. Same thing in Spanish. So thin or is either delgado, or if you're referring to una mujer, it's delgada. Skinny is either flaco or flaca. So, and it carries the same connotations whatever in Spanish as it does in English using thin or skinny. So, good to choose your words wisely. Now the other thing you'll hear somebody refer to la flaca. And la flaca, in Mexico especially, is the nickname for La Santa Muerte. So the Day of the Dead, Santa Muerte is Saint Death, and it's usually a woman. And often she's a skeleton, but she's also garbed very exclusively. So her nickname in Mexican culture is La Flaca, because obviously she's like as skinny as you can get, because she's all just bones.
There was an old Telemundo show, El Gordo y la Flaca.
Okay,
It's like
yep.
The big fat guy.
Big fat guy and skinny, yeah. Yeah. So,
Fat and skinny.
okay. Anyway, so I wanted to make that aside because those are words that can get mixed up and they carry the same sort of connotations in Spanish as they do in English. So, okay, so where did we end? We did el carro barato, that was Ignacio, right? Okay, so let's go over to Monique for number 11. Think small. So small is pequeño.
El hotel.
Pequeño. So pequeño is small, grande is big. So grande, pequeño. Good opposites to know. Good. El hotel pequeño. All right, Kim.
I don't know which one we're on, sorry.
12.
Okay, so L. Is that hard C or soft?
Hard C, yeah, if it's proceeding.
Clima fantastico?
Clima fantástico, yep,
Fantastico.
good. And even though it's el clima, because it's el, it's fantástico. All right, Angela?
La hermana inteligente.
Yep, inteligente.
Inteligente.
Yep, G's are soft before E's and I's. All right, so over to Rebecca.
El libro interesante.
Muy bien. Lynn?
La ciudad grande.
Bien. Tracy?
El hombre rico.
Yes, el hombre rico. Good. Mark?
El dentista joven.
Bien. Jake?
La bolsa roja.
La bolsa roja. I think we made it all the way around, right? Good. So then we have la ventana azul and la planeta verde. Yay! Verde stuck. Good. All right. It talks a little bit about how to make plurals, which you guys can look that over. And let's go to chapter 2, because I want to get you introduced to estar and ser in subject pronouns, because estar and ser are your two main to be verbs, so they get used a lot. So with this, you can start doing some sentence building. So, first the subject pronouns, or subject pronouns. You have yo, tú, and I have kind of a standard diagram that I use when we do verbs, because all verbs follow the same pattern. Once you learn a verb pattern, present tense AR verb, present tense ER IR verb, except for the irregular ones, which there are those, you can pretty much conjugate any verb once you know the breakdown of the pattern. So you have yo, tú, and then you have usted, which is the you formal, which is always the same as él or ella or any third person. So whether it's a caballo or a gato, or it's going to be this. And then you have, so yo, tú, usted, él, ella. Here we have nosotros, which is we. So I, we. Here we have vosotros, which is the plural of the two, which gets used very little. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time with that. You may hear people say vos, and what's interesting is technically vos should always refer to a group. So it's like you, it's like y'all, familiar. It's almost like the y'all form in Spanish, because it's only used in really close, informal people. They use vos, but in certain countries they use vos even with individuals. So like, for example, Jackie, our office manager, director of operations, is from El Salvador. And in El Salvador and in Venezuela, both places, we use vos like almost like we would use tú. So I may say to her, vos que queréis comer hoy? So vos queréis is the form, it's like, so what do you want to eat today? Even though it's a singular. So in common usage, it's not even used grammatically correctly. It's used like more of a, how do I want to express? So more of a, not only familiar, but it's like almost endearment, but not endearment in like necessarily romantic. So, if you're really close friends, that's, using that is what you use. So there's a lot of familiarity, a lot of confianza, so a lot of, even confianza doesn't translate for us. Confianza means confidence, but a person of confianza is someone you just like really trust, really are connected to. So anyway, so vos gets used that way. Anyway, all that to say, I'm not going to use vos much because you can totally get by without it. It often confuses things. So here we're going to put usted, and then here we're going to use él and ella. So our third person, well, actually, ellos and ellas, plural. And this is ustedes. So, I, you familiar, you formal, him, her, we, you plural, formal, and then he, they, them. How do we do? See, we really don't have a gender, yeah, we don't have like gender plurals. We don't have he's and hers. But that's what it is. So, because everything has to match in Spanish. So, your verb form and your gender have to match the rest of what you're saying in your sentence. So that's why they're divided up. So, with that, we are going to go to estar. So estar is the verb to be. All verbs are going to end in either AR or ER or IR in Spanish. AR verbs get conjugated one way, the ER and the IR get conjugated a different way. But they'll follow the same pattern. So estar is to be. So yo, so to say I am is yo estoy. And of course, the first one we're starting out with is regular, but you need to learn it, so you'll figure out the other patterns just to start. So yo estoy, tú estás, usted está. And get the accent because esta means this, está means you are. So está, so estás, está. And ella is also está. So context becomes very important because if I say, está por venir, are they about to come? Without the context, you don't know, is it you who are about to come? Or is it him or a her or a dog or a cat that's about to come? So that's almost always, if you're gonna use está, you're gonna use él está, or you're gonna use usted está. So people know who you're talking about. So, yo estoy, I heard I'm confused. Thank you, good.
I am sorry, I'm not getting that.
Okay, he
It's
just,
got, and it's got L, esta, they're all three the same. L, ella, and u.
yes, él and ella and usted all use está because, and it is confusing because you use está for both the second person formal, for usted, as well as third person singular. So second person formal, singular, third person. So for example, if you want to say, you are tired. You could say, está cansado. But, está cansado also means, if you're talking about el caballo, so if the sentence was, the horse ran home, el caballo corrió a casa, está cansado. It's the same thing. So it's either, so that's why you need context, because el caballo está cansado, usted está cansado, ella está cansado, el gato está cansado. So, está cansado.
You said you said the cat is tired, right?
I did.
Okay.
Good. Because third person refers to any third person.
Okay.
And this is where people sometimes get confused because somebody will be talking about their pet dog or their cat or the crocodile that somebody saw in the swamp. And it's all the same as if it's not just L and A, it's just not him or her, it's any third person object gets conjugated that way and gets used. So that's why you're gonna hear me talk about horses and cows and things like that, just so you don't just think, oh, it's only him or her, it's like anything you're talking about for estar. So, yo estoy cansado means I'm tired. Tú estás cansado? You are tired. Ahora, yeah, if I say, tú estás cansado? Then it's,
It always sounds like a question, sorry.
are you tired? Yes. So the only difference between are you tired and you are tired is inflection. ¿Tú estás cansado? Tú estás cansado. So, él está cansado. He's tired. El caballo está cansado.
She is tired.
The horse is tired.
Oh, the horse.
Yeah, el caballo. Okay. So, that's singular present tense. Question? Or just-
What's the difference between two with an accent and two without the accent?
Oh, here
Yeah,
needs an accent. Thank you. Pronoun.
okay.
Yes.
Get it.
Yes. Did they have that? Do they have that in the book?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Okay. So the difference is
Hers is that too.
tu is the pronoun. So you as a pronoun. Two, okay, how does two without, trying to think of examples. So, yeah, so like your, so if you'd say, tu mamá está cansado, your mom is tired, then it would be two without the accent, because it's your. So the pronoun that's possessive doesn't have the accent. The pronoun's referring to the person themselves, you, as an accent. Same thing with él. So if you're talking about he, the pronoun, he's tired, él está cansado, that él has an accent. If it's just él, the book, For the, that doesn't have an accent.
You wanna change it on the board there.
Thank you. And as you can see, if you get it wrong, it doesn't mess up understanding. I mean, unless you're doing like heavy lot of writing. So for your spoken Spanish, you don't have to worry about whether or not, because it doesn't sound any different. The accent doesn't make the word sound any different. It's always gonna be el, it's always gonna be tú, and context determines the usage. And a great majority of people who are native Spanish speakers, when they're like writing fast and stuff, don't always even put all the accents in and stuff, so. It will never be a deal breaker. But thank you, because I will always try to do it right for you. All right, so, yo estoy, I am, tú estás, you are, familiar, usted está, you are formal. It used to be the breakdown between usage was really delineated between who used formal, who used informal. That's changing a lot. With every year that goes by, the breadth of what you get to use the informal to with and who you use the usted with keeps shrinking. I mean, it used to be anybody who was in a position of authority over you, anybody who was your senior, anybody who you'd never met before, you want to go with usted. And that's still a good rule of thumb. If you're not sure about the relationship, you're always better off with usted. About the only time you don't have to worry about that being the case is if you get introduced, like Matt's out with friends and they bring a new friend in to the friend group, that's like watching the game and speaking Spanish. If Matt would start using tú with the new friend you just got met to, who's a peer, no sweat. It's not a problem. In fact, in Spain, if you use like usted with somebody who should be a peer, they like feel insulted. It's like, why are you being so like formal, hi, whatever, you know. So, and again, if you're just learning Spanish and you're talking, people care way more about the fact that you're trying to use your language than whether or not you get your tú and usted correct. So again, there are very few people you're going to offend if you use tú instead of usted. There are very few people you're going to offend if you choose to use usted with them instead of tú. What'll happen is if you start getting close friends and you're developing and you use usted, they may say, hey, just use tú with me. You don't have to be that formal. And that's like, okay. But if you forget and do it, people are not going to be upset over it. So, whatever you can pull out of your head at the moment, use it. Don't overthink it when it comes to tú or the usted for those. So, okay. So nosotros, finish up with this and then close. So, nosotros estamos. So, tú estás, so it's has, amos, ustedes. What is it? People have been here before? Están. And then ellos, ellas, están. So once again, the ustedes, so the you plural formal, is the same as the third person plural. It's están. So, ustedes están locos. Y'all are crazy. Or ellas, esas chicas por ahí están locas. Those girls over there are crazy. And loco is used like we use crazy. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. So let's run through it. Yo estoy, tú, usted, él, ella, nosotros, ustedes, ellos, ellas, los caballos. Good. All right. And that is time, people. Wow. Good. And so next week, we will continue with estar, using some verbs. I would encourage you to work ahead and do like exercise 2.1 and 2.2. Because we're going to get estar down before we start talking about ser, which is another form of to be. So that's the plan for next week.